Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mary, for co-hosting. Wait till a few more people pop on and then we'll get down to business. Happy to see the faces that have popped up so far. Hey, Madison, I hope you're enjoying your meal. That's okay. This is our living room here. Great to see you too, Jim. Mark, Frank and Rhonda, Katie, Charlie. Brenda, I'm on my way to your neighborhood. Mary, all the Marys. Maureen, Catherine, Lisa. Anyway, perhaps I could coax some of you who have your cameras off to turn them on and say hello to each other. Feel free to say where you're calling in from. That would be great. And we'll just ease into the evening. Hey, Stephanie.
Hello from San Francisco.
Katie from San Francisco.
Welcome,
Santa
welcome.
Rosa.
Doug from San Francisco.
Great.
Mary in
Good.
Santa
Hi.
Barbara.
Mark from San Francisco. It's nice looking at you all.
Cheryl.
Madison.
Charlie in Rockport, Maine, from Berkeley, California, though.
Oh yeah.
Great.
From San
Charlie,
Francisco.
Great, Charlie.
Old neighborhood.
So San Francisco.
Daniel.
Madison.
Paul from Grass Valley.
Frank from San Francisco.
Welcome to all.
Kathy from Victoria.
Hey, Kathy. I'll be there on Friday.
Got it.
Any snow there yet, Charlie?
Anyway, really happy to see all of you. And when I said we would ease into the evening, what came to mind is the rare and opportunity for a short time in the span of our life to forget the past. It's gone. And to forget the future. It's just a dream. And to dwell in the only reality, the unfolding now, what we call the unfolding now, or here and now, or present time. But all those words can't capture the living experience. So for the benefit of our nervous system, for the benefit of the people who have to live around us every day, the benefit of the world, it's important that there are examples of light, the light of attention, examples of peace, examples of what the Buddha called non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. Just not wanting anything other than what is. And not having a mind that's filled with contentiousness and which feeds all kinds of discursive thinking and blaming and demanding. And we see the world as a manifestation of our minds in some ways out of control. So this is our form, at least a very mild form of social action, of stopping the war, by stopping the war in our own hearts. So that's what I meant by easing into the evening. So one of the best ways that I've known how to do that is to keep company with other people who are doing that, and that I know that I have a long history of knowing that is very sustaining. And so thank you for your presence here. It's a gift to everyone that you're here. So you may have come here for something, wanting something, but you're ending up giving something just by being here. So thank you. And now that you've taken in that possibility of or that experience maybe of the alchemy of giving and receiving just by your presence, then another thing I found very beneficial is to let my eyes close softly. And what is quite clear and what may be clear to you is that you are aware, that there's awareness. And how do you know that? There are things that are known. There's the dark. And we let ourselves be secluded in the dark. Let it envelop us. This is the womb of darkness. The Buddha talked a lot about secluded in the mind. So notice the darkness. And the other thing you'll likely notice is the feeling of the sitting body beginning to settle and still, just because you've stopped. And so we let our sitting body, the feeling of our body, fill our minds. And we let our attention just fill our body so that there's no dividing line, no separation between mind and body. In fact, these are just two ideas anyway. Letting go of body, letting go of mind, and there's just experience. And as we feel, I'll bring back the idea of the body as we feel the sitting body and notice it's stilling and settling. Notice that our mind, just in those moments of noticing, our minds have emptied of their usual preoccupations, and they've become filled with just this reality. And with the stilling of the body, what this is what becomes more obvious is the body is breathing. And we can feel and enjoy the body's experience of its own breath. In some ways, completely non-personal, just nature, body is breathing, animated with breath, with life. You don't even need to think of it as me or mine. It's this experience of breath and body. We're filled with life here, right where it connects with us. Just this breath, just this sitting body. All the time before us that has come before is really the same as the time that will come. They're both gone, empty. There's just this breath, just this moment. And so we want to embrace the only life and step out of the imaginary version of ourselves and our world and our life just for a little while. And come into what we call direct experience, not historical. Breathing, sitting, hearing the sound of silence, the distant sounds, sound of my voice, sounds in whatever space you're in. Hear moods, feeling tones, pleasant, unpleasant, thoughts, images, all presenting themselves in this unfolding now. Following the commitment that one makes in the Zen tradition, I choose or I vow to choose what's here. So we receive the experience we're having. In some ways, we recognize that it's meant to be this way. How do we know it? This is how it is. We don't try to make a better experience right now. We just settle back, receive actively just what's happening. We let go. We let ourselves be as is. With a soft mind, but alert. Gentle, but precise. Feeling the texture of this present moment. Bathing in the silence, the seclusion, with each other. We welcome everything into our field of awareness, our field of mindfulness. We welcome the breath and body, moods, and we welcome thoughts. Some of them will be noticed as just a display of our mind. Some will go unnoticed and spread out into ordinary thinking, and we may wander and get lost. But you haven't really gone anywhere, you've only imagined it. And that moment that you wake up and realize you've been lost, that's mindfulness re-arising, reasserting itself. So appreciate the reawakening, that opportunity to put your mind back in your body, put your body back in your mind. Just settle into the secluded state of being aware as long as it lasts, supported by our body and sense experience. Just this moment, just what's happening. Non-contentious, non-judgmental awareness, just welcoming. Whenever's needed, refresh yourself, begin again. Our destination is here. So you can always begin. Soften. Adjust your posture if needed. Notice your sitting body, breath, or whatever's prominent. Just this moment. Things just as they are. Letting go of struggle and strain. Sitting with you was quite sweet, but sweeter yet was opening my eyes and seeing your faces. Good medicine. I am curious. I had a lot going on during the sitting. I'm curious what you were noticing. Any question emerged from what you noticed during the practice? Any comments, descriptions, concerns? Love to hear. And if possible, if I have anything useful to share, I'd be happy to. Please use the raised hand function. And just remember that whatever is brewing for you in your practice, life practice, etc., any question will likely be of some use to someone else. So don't be bashful. Part of our practice of supporting each other. Are there any questions, comments, or topics? Please, Stephanie, thanks for breaking the ice.
Sure. I have my question relates to the physical sensations and sort of like posture during the sitting. This happens pretty often, but I notice it especially tonight where like my foot will start to fall asleep, or, you know, my back is slumping and it starts to hurt or something like that. And I always wonder like how there's for a certain amount of time or to some degree, I can just notice it and then, you know, focus on the breath again or whatever. But when it starts to like really just keep on arising, I always wonder like, how much or you know, is it useful to readjust my posture, to move the leg or whatever it is, as opposed to it just being a distraction?
Thank you for the question. Well, you know, in general, whatever it is that's happening is nothing that can be noticed is considered a distraction, because what would it be distracting you from? Unless there was some idea that you should be somewhere else, but that's not. But our practice is we cultivate the tools of mindfulness to be able to meet each presently arising experience in a non-contentious way. Now, there are certain experiences, the really unpleasant ones, that are harder to be with in a non-contentious, non-reactive way, and there may be a certain point where the mental reactivity is taking over as the predominant experience. And so before you make a move, you want to pay attention to the mental state, the way you're reacting to it. But if you're getting more and more contracted, then it's no longer valuable to keep sitting with a position that you're too reactive to. So you have to decide for yourself when it's appropriate to move. And the only thing about moving, you can move a lot, but it's always useful to see if you can accommodate, not so much, we don't just say sit with whatever's there. We say sit with it so that you can see that it's possible to have an unpleasant experience and your mind be very balanced. So enough so that you gain some freedom around things that are uncomfortable. But then using the wisdom to move when you need to, and when you do move, to do it really mindfully so that it doesn't break the flow of attention. So that otherwise it's completely up to you. I don't know, did I answer your question or not?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think it seems like the main distinction is, or the thing to notice is if you're just moving as a reaction to whatever you're experiencing, as opposed to noticing it and then deciding whether to
That's
move
right.
or not.
Wisdom as opposed to reactivity.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Thank you.
reactivity, if you keep moving reactively, you're actually training the aversive mind. You're teaching yourself to be less able to accommodate things that are difficult.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we're always cultivating something, so might as well cultivate wisdom and love. And
Thank you.
mindfulness pretty much does that. But anyway, thank you. Mary, please. I guess you were next.
Yeah, hi Howie. I just wanted to thank
Welcome.
you and everyone there for all being here on Tuesday nights. It's just been a challenging few weeks and very overwhelming. I feel a lot of times just kind of exhausted from the world, and I've had a few sort of minor health issues too. So, it just kind of felt like a very exhausting time, and it just feels so good to just be here and relax and experience peace. I feel very grateful to you and to the group, so I just wanted to thank you all.
Thank you. Always grateful for you being here, and it's a world weary time, but and this is not to take anything away from your weariness, but we're really neck deep in grace relative to the kind of weariness that so many beings are experiencing. So just accommodating that difference is really hard.
Yeah.
And knowing how to be with it, it's just a constant challenge. So that in itself, I'm just, you're preaching to the choir. I'm exhausted from not figuring out, but somehow navigating, being with.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are, very much so. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I wanted to share that this is really a refuge, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Noemi, please. I know your hand was up.
Yeah.
There you are.
I
I don't have your picture though, Noemi.
Oh, I don't know why. My video is on. Oh, sorry.
No problem. I can hear your voice. It's always good to hear. There you come.
There it is. Am I on?
No.
Okay. Oh, am I on now?
You are not.
I don't know what happened.
That's okay. Your camera's off, but that's.
Oh, you know what? I cover my camera. when I not on Zoom, I cover my camera.
Okay. Anyway, I'm glad we're.
Anyway, yeah, I was really frustrated, and I didn't really get this sit because for some reason I couldn't log on to Zoom. So I think you answered a lot of my questions in answering Stephanie. And I guess the 10 minutes I did get, I was aware of my frustration.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm feeling a little sad that I spent half an hour trying to get on Zoom. But the whole thing about noticing, because all through my 10 minutes, but I am really frustrated and kind of annoyed and really pissed off. So I think you answered my questions with Stephanie, and also I'd read some things with your answer with Mary. So I did want to thank you, and I'm sorry for the people who aren't local, but I do want to plug in for being physically together once again. I know.
We have made our December
I know.
half day in person.
I know. I'm just saying that for those who are local,
Yes.
that maybe one day it will happen again. For a
Yes.
weekly meeting. But anyway,
Anyway, glad you made it,
thank you.
and it's not easy to have frustration be the dominant mental state, but it's juicy to work with. Just knowing this is what this feels like, and
Yes.
it really does. It really can transform into self-compassion, into strength. Yeah.
Thank
Anyway, take care. Mark, please. You are muted still.
Thank you, Howie. This is not particularly about the sitting. This is just kind of a general progress report. What I have begun to notice, in fact, I've noticed this now for a while now, but it comes from some of the Dharma talks, is that during the day, when I'm just going about my regular business, I'm just pulled here, and then I'm pulled there, and then I want to eat, and then I want to watch TV, and then I want to listen to the radio, and it just never ends, and I can't stop it. And I realize that that paying attention to that is what I'm doing, and that's something new. It's quite extraordinary how that just never ends.
That's why it's called samsara, endless wandering. Um, However, every one of those moments that you notice, it ends. One life ends before the next one begins. When there's actually a moment of noticing, of clear comprehension.
Gee,
So for you to pick up on that patterning
yeah,
in your day, there had to be a moment of comprehension. This is
okay.
like a rat race.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, I noticed that the way you get something to end is that you satisfy it, except you never really satisfy it. You want to listen to the radio, you turn the radio on, and then you don't want to listen to the radio anymore because then you want to do something else.
Well, that's just the desire body just playing itself out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just the desire
So,
body. Yeah, we are often driven by desire. However, mindfulness stops that. It cuts through that by noticing, oh, this is desire.
just the
This is,
noticing.
yeah,
Yeah.
noticing is powerful.
Well, that's always something relatively new,
Anyway,
the noticing of it.
no, it's good note. It's a good insight. We're being dragged around
Thank you,
by our
Howie.
minds, but the beautiful thing is to know your mind is then to be liberated, is to liberate your mind.
Thank you, Howie.
Thank you. Freddie, please.
Yes. Hello, Howie. Freddie here. I met you at the half day at
Oh
Fort
yeah,
Mason.
great to see you again so soon.
Good to see you too. My mind is like a jukebox, and it seems like I always have a song playing. And tonight during meditation, I was particularly noticing it. And unlike thoughts, it seems like music has a way of clinging. It just sticks, and it just keeps coming back and coming back. I had this song going that I really didn't like, so I changed the song to another song, thinking, okay, I can deal with this music. But it seems, unlike thoughts, that music, it just kind of clings. It just sticks in the brain. So is there a way to quiet the jukebox in the brain?
It's a
Is it
it's a great
similar?
question, and you speak for a lot of people who have music in their mind. And some people, sometimes the song is great, but in general, when you have a repeating theme of a thought or a song, it usually has an engine. It's usually some kind of underlying feeling that it's expressing in a way. And so it can be useful. It's not to stop it, but to actually experience what's more primary that's going on. To actually, as you hear that song, open to your body, open to your heart, just sense whatever mood or emotion may be connected to that song. And just let yourself hover there and feel that. Because it's often the unmetabolized or the unnoticed feeling that becomes the fuel, becomes the fuel for the song and gives it the momentum. And it's the not noticing it. Once it's noticed, it often just melts away into the openness, and there's just less fuel. And not to mention, to try to stop it actually means you're bothered by it. And if you're bothered by it, it keeps tormenting us. It's a law. So it knows, and it will keep irritating you. So ideally, you just say, okay, take me tonight, and let's just see what this is, not what it's about, but what's the feeling that goes with this.
The underlying emotion. Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've had some long torments on retreats that were not easy to bear. Okay, last one, Anne. Last but not least, glad to have you with us.
I am terrified. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am terrified of trying to get rid of the song in my mind.
Terrified of trying to get rid of the song.
Yeah. Can you suggest an approach to that?
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're saying.
I don't want to go there. I just don't want to. I don't want to look at the song. I don't want to look what's underneath the song. I just wanted to I cannot take the first step to letting the song embody me enough so that I can see what's underneath.
Oh, well, it's not really to see it. It's not as much of an operation. It's just expanding a little bit. It's just taking in the mood of the song and just feeling it. And sometimes with that, it doesn't, it loses a little bit of its steam. But are you bothered by the songs that you hear?
No, I don't want to let go of them. I love them.
So you notice clinging to the songs.
I guess so. I thought I liked them. I thought I liked music.
Yeah. No, music's a beautiful thing. You know, I think some people will get a song that they can't, that it seems like it gets locked in, and it to the point where it starts feeling a bit unpleasant.
I think I'm seeking out a continuous stream of music in my mind.
You're seeking out a continuous stream of music, and you do that in order for what?
I wrote. I don't know. Just been doing it.
So it's a habit. It's a habit.
Yeah. It's like in that we did that seven-day retreat with you a couple years ago at Spirit Rock, and the woman next to me said, "I have 29 songs in my mind at any time. What do I do about that?" And I think you just said let go of them, but that's really hard to do. So I'm just thinking, I guess that's a good thing. I figured out that I'm scared to look at it.
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's a good thing to notice that, and craving, you know, the continual wanting of something usually is usually has an engine also. What would I have to feel if I wasn't singing?
Yeah.
My mind wasn't. Anyway, it's a open question, but
thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, glad to see you. Okay, let's just take a little pause. Thanks for participating. I noticed that in the chat, our friend Renda is providing a lot of resources for understanding the experience of the history and experience of people in Gaza. Hi, Renda. Glad to have you with us. Obviously, a lot of my thoughts tonight have been with what's happening in the Middle East, and with the Palestinian people, with the Israeli people, with all the people in the world that are like Mary was speaking about before, that feel the weight and the heaviness and the challenge of how to be. And part of my own education, I've been reading a lot of what Renda sends me, and I read what lots of people from many different directions are sending me, and that's what I do as a human being. I want to understand, but I've really come to the realization that this knowing actually how to be with this in the Dharma seat is I'm relying a little bit on the Buddha, who actually decided not to get into a role of justice maker, who didn't decide not to get into a political role. And his intention was to create the conditions, to share the conditions that would lead people to stop harming themselves, stop harming others, that would lead to happiness and well-being. And instead of focusing on justice, on politics, on advocating for who's right and who's wrong, and which is just so compelling as a human being. But in the Dharma seat, it was really about what is meritorious, what is action that will cause you and the people around you and the world at large in slowly trickling effects to become a happier place, a better place, where we get war out of our hearts, and we get positioning out of our hearts, get othering out of our hearts. And this idea of merit, which is one of our Sangha members, Genevieve Traeger, who was part of our Sangha, but also moved to Phoenix and became the head of Scottsdale Insight Meditation. She sent me an article from Thanissaro Bhikkhu, and he wrote it. It was an article on justice and something like justice and merit. And normally when we think of merit, we think of it being very selfish, all about me, about practicing that which will lead me to be happy. But it turns out that anything that is meritorious, anything that is beneficial, has an implication that it impacts everyone. And so the Buddha was very clear. There are basically three things that are meritorious that each of us can do every single day. It's a way of, in a way, keeping the light. And the first one is generosity, giving. And the reason I said keeping the light is, and this is it seems so privileged and shallow at this point, but I've been watching a Netflix series called, now I've forgotten the name. It's something about the light, where the light is hidden or something. The real light is what's hidden.
All the light you cannot see.
All the light you cannot see.
It's a really good book.
Really good book and really good series, but all the light you cannot see. And it tells the story of a blind woman during World War II who was in the war zone of World War II, who was separated from her father, and a German soldier and different people who relied on the voice, on this one channel of the radio, relied on this voice of the guy who was called the professor, who would devote every single day to continuing to speak about things that bring light and hope and love and goodness and generosity. And it gave people who were in hell realms just some little spark, some little feeling of possibility, and sustained them. And it calls to mind our image, our monolithic image of all of the war zones in the world and all the people who are suffering. And we can easily forget all the people in the midst of that as well, in the midst of us who are doing good, who are caring, who are selflessly putting their lives in harm's way to benefit others. The light. Say it again, Mary. What the title was? I want to write it down.
Oh, I think it's All the Light You Cannot See. I should check it, but something like that. I'll see if I can check it. Really good book, though. You should read the book.
Anyway, and so I think that it's important that for me to, because I'm not an expert on the Middle East, I'm not an expert on, I'm learning, and as a person, but I'm not going to use this position here to hopefully, I'm sure that my political comments will sneak out. I've said a lot of things about Trump over the years, but I couldn't until it became about morals, until it became about ethics, until it became about the harm that is caused by body, by speech, by mind. And so we can focus on on the three things that the Buddha talked about: generosity, virtue, and love. Those are the three main causes of meritorious action, things that are really beneficial, that lead to happiness for everyone. So generosity. When you feel the impulse to give, give. Give from your heart. Ideally, give that which you care most about. And that may be your life. Give to support the causes, the people who are doing good works in this world. Most of you know this, because teaching has been given thousands of times on Tuesday night, even though we didn't do it last week. We had a week off of giving our little Dana talk, but Dana talk is usually about teacher Dana. But the real teaching of Dana that the Buddha offered talked about the lightness, the lightening of our heart that comes from being generous. The joy at the thought of being generous with our time, our energy, our resources, the joy in the act of it, and the joy of the memory of having done it. And that if we knew how important it was to be generous, that we would not let a single meal pass without sharing it. That's entirely why it was such a reliable cause of well-being and joy that he saw in human beings in general. That's why he set up the whole monastic community to be a system of mutual generosity, where those who offer generously their support and their teachings are supported by the lay community that offers the requisites for the nuns and the monks, the food, and the joy that you see in Asia. When I practiced in Asia and went into a monastery, and there was a family of people who were feeding 600 people for the day, they would be sitting behind a cordoned off area and watching everybody come in and eat in the hall. And Burma or Myanmar now, it was such a poor country, and they would yet give half of their income to support the meditators, the monks and the nuns, and including the lay people like me. And they would be beaming with the joy of having offered the meal for the day. And there's so many small ways that we can lighten our load right now, lighten our world through generosity. So you've heard so much about that, but then virtue. Just think about the virtue is harmlessness. It's the I even wrote down before I came in tonight because I was thinking about it. There's 3 different domains that the teachings often refer to: body, speech, and mind. And I'll often those will just roll off my tongue: body, speech, and mind. But body, the things that we do with our bodies that cause harm is killing, stealing, exploiting with our sexuality. It's refraining from doing these things that brings, just think if we stopped killing humans on this planet, let alone all the other sentient beings that don't want to be killed, that are terrified, that are heartsick, heartbroken. And because we can't keep that one basic precept. It should be a commandment, even though it's not. It's a precept. It's a training guideline, but it should be a commandment. People get all, thou shalt not kill. So body, speech, lying. The lying is just off the charts. Divisive speech, harsh speech, pointless, gossipy speech. Unbelievable suffering caused with our words. Views that are shared in words. Who's right, who's wrong. So the teachings were saying what's true. And there are hard truths for sure. True, useful, timely, beneficial, and harmonious. You catch more flies with honey in general. Sometimes you just gotta cut loose, but trying not to cause harm with our speech. And then mind. What we do with our mind. How much, so many of you, a few of you talked about greed in the mind, either greed for music or greed for the next thing. Covetousness, how much our mind dwells in wanting. To pay attention to that and to cut through that. How much thought arises of harmful intent, of wanting to harm, wanting to have revenge. And we've talked in the last weeks about the cycle of violence that we see in the world, because people just can't feel, can't grieve. They find a new object. So, and then the amount of thinking about me, the personalizing, what the Buddha called wrong view, taking everything personally, everything is me and mine. That colors our ability to just see things the way they are, not always through the lens of me. Now that's a hard one right now when there's so much identity, so much me and mine, and that we have to honor and respect because we've been acculturated to be divided, to have our identity. We never want to put that aside, but we want to see that we're not limited to that identity. And the more we dwell in that, the whole point here is it keeps us from being well and happy. So, and then just the last one. So there's the generosity, there's the virtue, not causing harm with body, speech, and mind. And finally, there's love. Just from the moment we wake up in the morning, we have it within our mind stream, our capacity to incline toward love. Whatever that loving thing, that loving action, make sure that it's driven by love. Otherwise, the conflict is our action. And then just to have our mind, our body, speech, and mind loving. I've just been told that my internet connection is unstable. I hope you can still hear me. I don't know, but maybe that's enough words for now. But as much as I would love to engage in the injustice and the justice of the moment, I really think that it's important that this Dharma field becomes not unlike the monasteries were in the Vietnam War, where the monks and the nuns would be sitting, and that there would be, you could hear the bombing in the distance. And so it was really a hard thing to reconcile, how one could be cultivating quiet and peace in a time of war. But I think it's really necessary. I think it's the most radical social action we can engage in addition to all the other outer things that we can do. So, of course, get informed. Don't adopt the views that are just because they're the most common views. Dig deep. You know, we're learners. We're a culture of learners, people who want to awaken. So learn, but don't forget the real cause of well-being and happiness is generosity, virtue, and love. So that's all I have for tonight. Let's consider that there may have been some use for us being together, and that we offer the fruits of that to that it was more meritorious to be together. And let's offer the fruits of that to all beings everywhere, especially those in the war zone of Gaza and Israel, and just wish for quietness in heart and safety and the end of hostility. And may we, I'll use the words of Shantideva, may we become at all times, both now and forever, protectors of those without protection, guides for those who've lost their way, ships for those with oceans to cross, bridges for those with rivers to cross, sanctuaries for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, place of refuge for those who lack shelter, and servants to all in need. So may all beings be liberated in more ways than one.